Set 9.5 is right around the corner, and with a week left to hit your rank goals, I think it's time we cover one of the most broken comps in the game before it changes. In the first few rounds, you want to get 3 NOXUS ASAP. Your goal should be to always play from an early win streak position. You need to get as many NOXUS stacks as you can before the mid game. Of course, you can always play NOXUS from a week early start, but it is more difficult. To do this, you want Samira, Cassiopeia, and Swain. Kled works as a substitute for any of those units, but you really want those 3 as the early core. After that, I like to include Aurelia for more frontline and 2 challengers, along with Galio at level 5. If you don't find Galio, Soraka can also give 2 Invoker, but you may lack frontline, so be careful. Your early item holder should be Samira when starting with AD items, or Cassiopeia when starting with AP items. You will need to remake these units once you find Darius and Katarina, so remember to hold an extra copy on bench. Now in the mid game, you should be pushing levels to hit 6 NOXUS ASAP, transfer your AD items to Darius, and your AP items to Katarina. Playing 6 NOXUS at level 6 is the best choice. At level 7, however, you have to make a decision to run either a Juggernaut or a Rogue. If you 2-star Katarina first, then run Rogues. But if both Kat and Darius are the same star level, then run a Juggernaut. Your main carry is Darius, so don't forget that his traits are always more important unless Katarina has more items or is a higher star level. This comp offers high flexibility and no 2 games will be the same, so just remember to always play around your strongest unit until both carries are online. You'll spend most of your time at level 7 slow rolling for Darius and Katarina. Garen, Echo, Zed, and Swain are all possible to 3-star as well, so if you see a lot of them in your shop, grab them. Once you hit, it's time to econ back up and push levels for your late game units. If you're low rolling your shops, just stick to Darius and Katarina. Once you 3-star at least one of them, move on to level 8. Now once you've hit your carries and pushed levels, you're looking to hit Scion 2, Heimer 2, and Nasus 2. Remember, if you hit Garen 3, then you won't be playing Nasus. Heimerdinger is the most important to get late game, so play him over everything else. He spreads much needed armor shred, which is hard to come by in this comp. For his turret upgrades, you want to get double Shrink Ray plus Mechano Swarm to hit as many units as possible with the armor shred. The last adjustment you can make in the late game is when you happen to get a NOXUS emblem. If that happens, you can drop Samira for Azir. Even with no items, Azir provides 2 strategists plus 3 Shurima if you're running Nasus. From here, items, augments, and positioning will determine who takes first, so let's break that down. Now Darius's best damage items are Infinity Edge, Hand of Justice, and Titan's Resolve. You can swap Bloodthirster for Hand of Justice if you need to, but the other items are pretty close to mandatory, so it's tough to play for a top 2 without them. Kat, on the other hand, prefers Ionic Spark, Hodge, and Jeweled Gauntlet, but those items are more flexible, so if you can't get best in slot, just slam any AP items you find. Now for tank items, you shouldn't really build them until you're able to secure your carry's items. Once you can, Sunfire is great for early snowballing, Protector's Vow and Warmogs are great for excellent stat buffs on Nasus, Swain, or Scion. It's not too important who holds them in the late game, although Nasus is most preferred. Now for extra items, you really want to secure Heimerdinger either a Ginsu's or a Shojin. Heimer's turret shares in his attack speed, so if he gets a Ginsu's, the turret will deal high damage and perma-shred enemies. Shojin allows Heimer to repeatedly stun enemy boards, keeping them locked down. Lastly, having at least 1 Zephyr in this comp is super important in the late game, so if you can spare the components, I highly recommend building one. Now for augments, Noxus Crest is super great in the early and late game. In the early game, it lets you hit 3 and 6 Noxus really easily, while in the late game, you get to replace a weak unit like Samira for a late game powerhouse like Azir. Domination is a must-take in any situation, allowing you to execute units below a certain threshold. This lets Darius 1v9 boards and reset his spell almost every time. Healing Orbs provides excellent sustain as most units will be in melee, and when Darius or Katarina score a kill, they'll all get the healing buff. Unified Resistance provides excellent tank stats to your main frontline, which will be crucial in the late game fights. Gifts from the Fallen works very well here in this comp because Darius tends to 1v9 in the late game. With more units on your team dead, the more stats Darius will have to be able to reset and get kills. Infernal Contract can be an option you want to play when you're looking to reroll and hit multiple 3-stars. You're capped at level 7, but you can go for Echo, Swain, Kled, and other 3-stars much more easily. Now with most duo carry comps, the best legends revolve around items. Ezreal allows you to hit best in slot items most of the time. Ornn provides the same benefit while remaining flexible through his anvils. Positioning for this comp is straightforward. straightforward. First, always keep Swain in the center. Then on one side, you want your 2 rogue units. On the opposite end, you should have Sion, Nasus, and Darius, with Darius to the furthest spot. Between Darius and Katarina, you'll want at least one of them on the same side as the enemy carry. And this is where the Zephyr that I spoke about earlier comes in. If you have a Zephyr, it should be Darius on the same side as enemy carries. Make sure to Zephyr anything in front of Darius so he can walk to the backline carries at the start of the fight. But if you don't have a Zephyr, Katarina should be on the same side so she can rogue dash to them during the fight. You want Nasus on the same side as Darius because his ability will steal stats, including armor, from enemy tanks, making it easier for Darius to kill frontline. The last important factor here is Heimer's turret. You want it positioned in the back row on one of the middle 3 tiles. This should allow it to spread armor shred to all enemy frontline once the mechano missiles are fired. Drop a comment if this guide helped you reach your set 9 rank goals. Until next time, I'm Swagadelic.